Welcome. Over the Top Podcast. It's your boy HD in the building with the Over the Top Podcast crew. Well, let's see who we got on deck tonight. What's up, RJ? What's going on with you, man?
What's up, HD?
Hey,
How
man,
you
good
doing, sir?
stuff.
And
Enjoying
crew?
life, man. Enjoying life. What's up, Quinn? What's going on with you, sir?
They moved us into a new campus, and they got us sick.
Ah, the
Not
things of
campus, a new
campus, man.
building. New
Huh?
building. Moved us into a new building. Got 50%
Okay.
of people sick.
Gotcha. And Playmaker, what's the deal going on your way, man?
Hey man, I'm just happy to be part of the number.
Just glad to be in the mix.
Amen.
Gotcha,
Amen.
gotcha. And the lady of the crew, Miss Toya, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm sick too. We just all
Everybody's
sick.
under the weather. That's not good. But we must keep pushing, guys. We must keep pushing. Toya, what we got on deck with the Ask Toya?
So give me a second because now we got to set up stuff. Because
Well,
we got a new platform going on coming up.
Well, while we setting it up, hey guys, let you know where we at right now. Thank you for participating and supporting us on not only our YouTube channel, not only our Facebook pages, and definitely not only on WDJY 99.1 FM. Starting next Tuesday, we will be in the Fairfax area on Channel 10. Is that correct? Am I correct with that, ladies and gentlemen? I want to tell the information
I
at 3
think you are
p.m.
correct.
in the DC Fairfax area. So we're definitely coming to you, DC. So get ready. We are so excited. But again, let us go with the Ask Toya for the night.
So, dear Toya, I follow you on social media and I see we follow some of the same people. One being the sister mom raising cultures. I've seen you respond on some of her posts where you give positive feedback. I just wanted someone else's opinion about her Halloween post. It didn't bother me, but it seems to offend or disgust a bunch of people. Do you think this is because she is raising a white son? P.S. I love y'all's show. Signed, another Black mother raising white kids. So, if you don't know, there's a sister on social media. Oh, goodness, I didn't even do that. And her page is called Raising Cultures. She has adopted 3 kids. One of them is a small white boy who we call Boosie, and he is very lovable and cute. For Halloween, they dressed up as Jessica Rabbit and Roger Rabbit. And a lot of people were offended by this, saying that it's okay to cosplay, but when you're doing it with your child, you should not play his love interest. Now, this wasn't cosplay, and I'm going to tell you, this sister, when she snaps back at people, when she responds to people, she does it so eloquently because you know me, I would do all the F-bombs that I could possibly give. But this was just Halloween. He wanted to be Roger Rabbit for Halloween, and he said, Mom, you be Jessica Rabbit. So, I'm going to ask y'all first, and then I'll respond. The question was, do you think this was too much? Are they getting on her because she's a Black woman raising a white son?
Q, I'm going to go with you. That story comes out with you, sir. What's your thoughts?
So you're saying he saw Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Yes.
And said, "Hey, I want to be." I forgot his name.
Roger Rabbit.
Thank you. I'm choking. He said, "I want to be Roger Rabbit. Can you be Jessica Rabbit?" And she said, "Yes." And they did this.
Yes.
Okay. So people are just upset to be upset, and that's okay because there's a block button for that.
There it is.
Some people, mind you, if you want to be outraged about someone being over the top with cosplays, but the woman who dressed up her daughter as the, did anyone see that photo? Dressed her daughter like she was a plastic surgeon or something.
No.
She had like a fake boobs, fake butt. I was like
Oh
plastic.
wow.
Had the
Oh,
if you want to be upset, go be upset about that. This all it is a kid saw a movie that was older than him, older than me, and said, "Hey, I want to be that." And the mother, being a good mother, said, "Okay, we'll do that." Stop being fake mad. You're not really mad at this. Y'all get over it.
Playmaker, what's your thoughts?
You know, I kind of agree with Q on this one. I mean, I'm looking at the picture, and you know, it may not be something I would like to see in my household, but I don't see anything inappropriate with it. You know, it's just a mom and a son having fun. You know, if she was in some kind of S&M type thing, that'd be a little bit different. But you know, I think it's fine. I have no problem with it.
RJ.
Um, I don't know, man. For me, it's not it's not the best look, but it's not a bad look. It's not ideal in terms of, aspects of things like the daggone low cutting dress. That's not cool.
It's
However,
actually a long dress. It's just the way she's sitting. The dress goes all the way down to the floor.
but I'm I'm seeing my eyes are seeing thighs. So I can't lie to myself and say what I'm seeing. Say I'm not seeing what I'm seeing. And you got your child next to you. You know, to me, there's an expectation. You don't make somebody out to be approved, but at the same time, um, certain things you just don't want in that space. I ain't knocking it. Um, I think it's more it's more for me about not this picture, but what type of mother she is with that child on a consistent and daily basis. And I don't think to me it matters much, um, her being African American and him being a Caucasian child, because we can empathize with their experience. It's a little bit hard for them to empathize with our experience at times because it's not
That picture
something
don't make it better.
shared. So, say what?
Right. So,
What?
you done? Or, okay, so I'm gonna take it from a different.
Yeah, I was done. I was done.
So no, I don't. So do I see a problem with? No, I think we as society and social media has made and continue to make mountains out of molehills all the time. And if you out there, so those you out there, people have say what they feel or say what they think they feel, good, bad, or different. I don't see anything wrong with that. But I also feel that if you're gonna put yourself out there, you do gotta accept certain criticism and critiques, especially from the peanut gallery. Good, bad, different. But me personally, there's no problem with that. And I say I'm with Gary. I may not prefer to see the bunny ears on my young son, but that's just me. And that is my view. But for somebody to try to sexualize a photo, you're reaching, and you way out of bounds on that. But I do believe that people have the right to freedom of speech and be themselves, man. Stop being so judgmental of people. But that's my thoughts. You Toya.
So, like I said, I follow her. She's a very good mother. Like I said, she has one biological daughter, and she has adopted three other. Her and her husband have adopted three other children. So that's a lot of love you have to give. And those children started off in foster care. And so when she said the call was made that they had a newborn, will you take them? And a lot of people want newborns, but in foster care, don't, because sometimes newborns are born with a whole lot of different issues because they're born to drug parents or something like that. And I do believe that his mother was a meth addict or something like that. So he had some delays, but they got him where he needs to be. He is a sweet little boy, and you can tell he is very loved. And my kids came to me for Halloween and told me they wanted to be something that I hate. But that didn't stop me from buying clown outfits. I hate clowns. I do not like seeing clowns. I am scared of clowns. But I had two giant clowns running around here looking their cutest because that's what they wanted. And as mothers, when it comes to things like Halloween and stuff like that, we get our kids what they want to do. They want to go trick or treating. This is what they want to dress in. And all night long, I was with the two creepy clowns. So mind the business that pays you. This is what I think a lot of people need to start doing. Minding the business that pays them. We are so opinionated and judgmental over other people's lives. And yes, she does put her life out there for all to judge. She has thick skin, like I said, is something I could not do because my tongue is loose. And I'm quick to say, what's your address? Meet me in these streets, because I'm from that beef is when we meet up in these streets.
Oh, that's a little aggressive. That's a little aggressive. That's a little aggressive.
That's why I keep my stuff private. But I love this family. I love what they're doing. I love the cultures that they are raising. They are raising amazing daughters and sons. Thank you for the question. Thank you for following me. I appreciate that. Let me tell you something. I'm famous. But
famous and fabulous Toya. That's you.
If you guys have any questions, as always, you can reach me at asktoya, toya74@gmail.com. Toya L on Facebook, TOIAEL. I mean on TikTok, and Ask Toya on Facebook. And we will soon next month, I think, have another Ask Toya show where we gotta empty out these boxes. So look forward to that.
Yes. And before we get started, let me give a shout out to all the caregivers, all the adopted parents, and all the mentor parents that take children that don't belong to you into your house and raise them. It takes a special type of individual to open your home to strangers and kids. So give a shout out. I know my mom been one, and my aunt been one for years. But give a shout out to all the caregivers out there in the world. Your works do not go unnoticed over here, Over the Top podcast. So good stuff. Good as Toya. So guys, we're gonna keep it pushing tonight. We're gonna do like we always say. If the states do not want to teach us our history, and we have a platform to teach it, well, doggone it, it's our responsibility to at least shed a little light on it. For you guys can go do your own research after the show and dig a little deeper. So tonight we're gonna talk about the Great Migration. So here we go. In the 50 years following the end of Reconstruction, African Americans transform American life once more. They move. The roots of Jim Crow laws began in early 1865, immediately after the ratification of the 13th Amendment, which abolished slavery in the United States. But they also introduced what they call in the South called the Black Codes. So the Black Codes are the strict laws, local and state laws that was out in blacks by the southern states, out for blacks by the southern states. Excuse me. The code appeared throughout the South and as a legal way to put black citizens into interstate servitude. Violence was on the rise, making danger and regular aspect of African American life extremely difficult. Black schools was vandalized. Black people was attacked, tortured, and lynched during this time. Families was attacked and forced off their land across the South. In the 1870s, through the mid 1900s, more than 4 million African Americans left the South and head northeast and the Midwest. So we start our questions out a little early. Rod, I'm gonna go with you with this one. I've heard some scholars say that blacks that left the South to head north and west was supposed to come back and help the families in the South. Do you feel that was that the plan that's supposed to happen?
The functional plan was for people to go out and become professionals in various different disciplines and tools, and then bring those skill sets and that money or the skill sets, the money, and the influence back to those areas and build those areas up that they left. However, some of those people found the living conditions to be a little bit more affable and a little bit more functional for them, so thus they weren't in a rush to come back home. My family is basically stationed in the Mid-Atlantic, but my wife's family is from the South. And the Great Migration is a big part of what effectively took place due to a lot of the laws related to Jim Crow and aspects of things. And honestly, my mother-in-law, upon taking care of her mother, was forced to come back to the South. As soon as her mother passed, she moved back to Charlotte, which was further north. She came south because her children are south, but were it not for that and those harsh winters, she probably would still be in that same area. So when I think about it, I don't know a lot of people who've returned to the South other than to find cheaper living situations if they're retiring. So that code, that functional access, those things that were supposed to happen has not been a mission accomplished. Um, it's not been done. And that's tough to hear, but that's just where we are as a culture right now.
All right. Q, I'm coming through with this one. When looking back over this period, what do you think was the mindsets of blacks leaving the South?
Of them leaving?
Right. You want to read it again?
There were a few that maybe had an idea of what they wanted to do. There are probably a few who wanted to go back to work because that's all they knew. But I think the majority just didn't know what to do. Because for the longest time, all they knew was work, work, eat bad food, get beat on, work again. That's all they
Okay.
knew, which is unfortunate. But
Okay.
when they say, hey, okay, you're free to go, and they be like, okay, go where? I don't know. You can stay here if you want to. No, I don't want to do that. Okay, but you can go. Okay,
Right.
and they just went, and that's it.
Right. The unknown. The unknown. You know,
I wanted to say one thing though.
Go ahead.
There was a lot of upward mobility into those spaces. And a couple of things that I saw that took place that were really powerful. A young Jackie Robinson got to go to UTLA and participate in big time sports and be a really public figure. A young Bubba Smith came from the South and went to Michigan State, had a prominent role on a really solid team in the late 50s, I think the late 50s, early 60s. So a lot of people who left those situations found a lot more prosperity in circumstances with that great migration and being able, because of the black codes and because of the Jim Crow South. And what they were really seeking was an escape from the racial violence, a pursuit of economic opportunities, economic and educational opportunities. And those are two gentlemen that I spoke to. And there's a bevy of people that had that opportunity based upon leaving the South, having access to it.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So in the North, housing was difficult to come by. And in many cities, the non-African American residents deemed strict segregation regulation to new arrivals to self-contained neighborhoods in the poorest parts of town with limited resources. African Americans had to take labor jobs in industries and taking lower pay than white Americans receive. Tensions between longtime residents and new migrants frequently flared up during the first decade of the century, with race riots struck many of the nation's city and towns in the North. The National Association of Advancement of Colored People, which was founded in 1910, and the National Urban League, which followed the next year, there they emerged as a central force in the struggle during the mid-century. T, I'm coming with you with this one. Although things was difficult in the North, do you believe that blacks was ready to leave the South?
They weren't ready, but they were made to. It wasn't like they just was like, oh, we leaving. Land was being stolen. When we talk about the KKK, we talk about people being lynched and money not being made because, like you said, those code laws that were put into place where you you work the land, but you're not getting paid your worth for the land. And in the North, there was a growth of jobs. The industries were growing, the factory industries, everything was growing. Um, they weren't ready, but it had to be done. And like you said, when they got there were so many things that you think that wouldn't happen, but did happen. There wasn't at a time segregation, but then they made laws into place, like in New York, um, that you can't have black and white people living in the same place. The great thing about it is that certain cities were created. We talked about the Harlem Renaissance. So Harlem was created where at one point it was all white, and then all of a sudden it became an all black community full of live culture and art and dance and music. Uh, you made more money, of course, going north, going west. The jobs were better, but you still had to deal with racism. It just didn't disappear because I always say that growing up, racism exists, but it wasn't right in your face as it is in the South, even in a time that we grew up. We still dealt with racism, but it wasn't in your face to the point where it is in the South.
Good stuff. Playmaker, if you want to pick it back on that, you can. But I'm gonna come with you with this question. How big a role do you believe the NAACP and the National Urban League play to help blacks during this time period?
I think the role was very significant. Starting with the Urban League, it gave provided help to provide housing and provide job training for people who were migrating up from the south into the north. So when people got to the north, they needed a place to stay and they needed jobs. And the Urban League was definitely helping in those areas. And then when you look at the NAACP, they were taking the battle or fighting the battle in legislation. So they were lobbying on behalf of the black worker and black people to try to get different laws passed. And they were also when people were getting into legal trouble, they were sending lawyers or sending money to kind of help them fight cases in the courtroom. So those two industries were very helpful and beneficial to the people that were migrating from the south to the north.
Okay, or Ron stepped out. Quinn, okay, here we go.
No,
Ron,
I'm
I'm
here.
coming
I'm
with you
here,
with
Hank.
this.
I'm here. I'm here.
Okay, I'm coming with you with this one. Do you think by Northerners moving out of certain areas of the city, grouping blacks into the poorest neighborhoods with limited resources while they moved to only right areas, was that they sign of systematic racism? Is that a sign of systematic racism, or where did it begin then?
Well, the Great Northern Migration created situations where I think it made certain cultures uncomfortable to live next to black folk. Just being honest as I could possibly be. Um, when my great grandparents moved into a home on Capitol Hill, and they were redlining at the time, so I'm thinking this is in the 40s and the 50s. Moving into that home was paramount and was one of the better opportunities because the schools were better in those neighborhoods. However, essentially, what effectively ended up happening when that tax base moved out of that neighborhood, so did a lot of the resources move out of those neighborhoods. And that's essentially what effectively creates the systemic things. You initially start off with redlining, and then you get effectively when enough black folks move into a community, you get redline. I mean, I'm sorry, a white flight, so to speak. And when you transition into that white flight, it creates what they call, I hate to say it, in some aspects, it's the ghetto. And the identification of the ghetto, the first time it was ever used, it was used to define areas that were inhabited by Jewish people. in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And so people generally don't know that. So when we talk about things that are ghetto, we're actually speaking about something that is a European concept brought here to America to address and support the peasants. So here we are, we have that white flight. Black folks lose a level of resources and access to resources that white folks, the monetary things that white folks brought into those communities. And then when you get into that space, what you effectively have is limited resources, systemic crime that follows eventually, and then you have a disruption of the community, so to speak. And what is happening right now, we see a revitalization of some of those areas, and it's gentrification because those properties have come full circle and they have become very valuable to people. And G lives in an area that's, you know a little bit about Washington D.C. and some of the areas that I speak of. Those homes right now are probably 1.5, almost $2 million in my grandparents' neighborhood because they're right at the foot of Capitol Hill. So when you see the manifestation of it, and they're all 3 floors, they're very roomy, they have high ceilings, they're very well made. It's tough to see that the loss of some of those houses. And you know what's really crazy? Out of the original homeowners of my great grandmother's neighborhood, it's only 2 people left. Maybe
I'm going to go
out
ahead.
of 20-something houses.
Interesting. I mean, I'm gonna get to you. Do you think that was the beginning of the ghettos, the ghetto system, in grouping blacks in one area where there's limited
No,
resources?
because no.
Okay.
When we think about it, like Ron said, in certain areas, when we think about a certain time, certain neighborhoods. So here in Charlotte, Hidden Valley and Greer Heights and things like that were affluent African American neighborhoods. Betty Ford was an affluent African American neighborhood. Over time, what happens when we get into a certain system and things are pushed in the neighborhoods and certain types of stores are in the neighborhoods, that's when they became ghetto. You had a black flight too during that time. I know after the Newark riots, a lot of like my grandfather, a lot of those affluent, because a lot of people who don't know the history of Newark, New Jersey, is that it was predominantly white at one time. If you watch the Soprano movie, I can't remember the name of it, but they did a prequel of when Tony was little, and he
I think it's called Saints of New Jersey or something like that.
Saints of Newark.
Saints of Newark. Yeah.
So that gives you a clue with that. Newark was Italian, Jewish, and Portuguese, and affluent blacks lived in the city. But then the riots happened, and then all of those affluent blacks moved out to like Plainfield and Scotch Plains and stuff like that, along with the whites, because that's when it became ghetto. That's what happens once these riots started happening. That's when the neighborhoods went down. These neighborhoods were places where we wanted to live. We wanted to be amongst your people. Like I said, Harlem was created out of the Great Migration. Some of the best cities, Detroit, Chicago, even parts of Detroit and Chicago, DC, Chocolate City, were some of the best places to live.
Okay. So some of the scholars say one reason that people we left the South was because of heavy racism. So I'm gonna go to my other two paths. First, I'm gonna go with you, Q, because you live half your childhood in the North and the other half of your teenage years in the South. At your age, in your generation, did you witness or do you feel a difference in racial tension from living up north and in the South? In the South.
There are times when I did, but I was also majority of the time around kids my own age, and a lot of kids didn't know what racism was. They thought, oh, You're this different. Say, yeah, I am, and whatever. Then moving down here, I feel I feel like it got more racist. got more racist when I moved down here than when I was up north. Even though down here I'm surrounded by more black people than I was up north.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the racism comes from the black people. Because they'll judge you.
Okay. Playmaker, I'm gonna ask you the same question because I know you had a similar. I know everybody's similar, but you know, born and raised in the part of your life up north, and pretty much most of your youth in the south, and you travel throughout. So what are your experiences with the same question going around? Is there a difference from the south to the north and the west of racism at this time? To try to connect the dots a little bit.
It's funny. When I was growing up in New Jersey, the area that I lived in New Jersey, I was in an all black area, so everyone that I came in contact with was black. In fact, I didn't even see white children until I went to South Carolina.
Oh wow.
So it
I had the
wasn't
opposite.
for me, it wasn't a sense of racism at my age growing up in New Jersey because I was just all around black folks, and that's the only thing that I knew. I didn't know anything else. Uh, but when I moved to South Carolina, it was a big culture shock because everyone that I saw at school primarily did not look like me, and and not only did you have Caucasian people, you also had some rednecks, and that was a little bit a real culture shock for me. To the just the whole tobacco and all that other stuff was just brand new to me. I just couldn't relate to it. So I will say that it was a culture shock for me going from north to south. I would say that there was racism that I experienced amongst students in the South that I didn't experience in the North because there was nobody, they were all black in the North. So I would say, yes, I did have that experience.
Interesting. What they told you? What was your experience? Told we got a little time. I know we pandering a little
So
bit. We got a little time.
I grew up in all white spaces. And so even when we first moved to South Orange, the first night we were there, they painted on the side of our house, niggas go. And our neighborhood was literally probably one of the blackest neighborhoods in the town, the area. Um, we were bused to just two towns, South Orange and Maplewood. In the 70s, they started busing the kids on a certain side of town to balance out the race. So there's more black kids going into Maplewood than coming out. The two towns shared one high school. So playing sports in that type of environment where you're going to spaces where there's nothing but white, it was very rare that we played East Orange or we played Weequahic. Those were rare games for us to play. We play in places like Randolph, New Jersey, Dover, New Jersey, like in places where there are no black faces, and playing basketball and being attacked. There's a reason why I stopped playing field hockey. I needed a sport to do in the fall, so I did field hockey. Well, you get hit with a stick too many times by a white girl and call you nigga, you want to fight all the time. So I stopped playing field hockey and I just cheered. And even that was different because our school, our squad was predominantly black and our coach was black. And then that became a problem. We had to literally go to the Board of Education because they were saying she was putting too many black girls on the team and white girls weren't getting a chance. I mean, everything. But our parents set up an organization called SOMAC so that they can keep an eye on how we were being treated in school, have say in what we learned. And a lot of our black teachers were also parents too that lived in the community. So those teachers are still part of my life. My coaches are still part of my life. My friends, that was the great thing. There wasn't a lot of us. And so we are all still friends. We are all still a community. And that is one of the reasons why my mother emphasized an HBCU, because when I got to Selma State, that was culture shock to me, baby. I was so happy to be around so many beautiful people
Right.
all the time. I didn't know how to act.
Wow,
I
good
do want to.
stuff.
I do want to say something too. I do. I want to say something. I did not do the Black community justice because I'm not going to sit here and say that all those communities were disadvantaged. They weren't.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a sage, a woman who was a little bit older than me, taught me one thing. She was my therapist when I was working in the field as a QP, and she said that um, racism caused us to live in communities where everything we need, everything we needed, we had in the community. We had the doctor, we had the lawyer, we had the teacher, we had the preacher, we had all those people who gave a level of affluence to the community. So there were some communities where people were economically successful. However, kind of like what Toya said, after the riots, after the 8th Street riots in DC, which is right down the street from my grandparents' house, that environment changed, man. And it took almost 25, really pretty much 25 years for that area to recover. And now, which is really crazy, now is some of the prime real estate in the DC metropolitan area in relationship to where people go at the 8th Street. If Gary, you may have been down there. That's where the young man for the Washington Commanders was robbed at. He was robbed down there, but it's a very affluent area, and
Okay.
they have a lot of um, bars and services there. But stuff goes in cycles. So yeah,
Good
But that's
just
stuff.
want to
how
Good
say
it's
that.
stuff.
designed to be. We talk about that too when we talk about gentrification. When we talk about those areas where, like here, Betty's Ford and Gary, you just came to homecoming, and I'm so sure from the last time you were here till this time, sir, you have seen a change. um, it has
Betty's
Definitely.
Ford's
changed.
like that. That's off the hook, man. Because Betty's was like, you go over to West Charlotte, you be like,
But from
Right.
what it was, and when I say when you go into those neighborhoods, they are some of the most beautiful neighborhoods in that area in Charlotte, the homes. And now they're gutting those homes out and they're redoing those homes on the inside, and they're charging somewhere it's up from 8,000 to $1 million for them. And they're pushing our people out. Hidden Valley, they're doing the same thing. Belmont, they have done the same thing. You can live on, I literally am on the north side. I went to Valentine for a doctor's appointment, and I hadn't been over there in a while. It takes me 45 minutes to get there, and you're still in Charlotte. And I say, dang, it's a new city. Like they
That is
got I was
crazy.
like, where did this come from? And that is literally how you are going from parts of town that were a certain area at one time, and now that gentrification was planned in advance. They wanted to move us in there, and then they found ways to get us out of there. Now they're pushing us out so that they can do what they're doing and even changing. And these are things you have to pay attention to. Tomorrow's voting day here. They're changing the voting lines. They're adding zip codes. Because my company, we have to know zip codes. There's like 100 new zip codes. And
And
I'm like,
that,
where did these zip codes come from? But they're changing it because they're changing the lines and they're making it more Republican so that Republicans can have a certain part of the city now. You know what I'm
you mean
saying?
to
These are things
gerrymander
that they're
districts,
that
doing.
basically.
urban in the district. So
Yes.
keep your eyes and ears aware that in your cities around the country that's happening all over. But let's continue. After the Civil War ended in 1865, many African Americans not only moved north, but they moved west, or became free people. African American found work in the West in the cattle industry and farming. Originally, they was called cowhands, and when the African Americans was but when African Americans started dealing with cattle, the cowhands as a prerogative, as a I'm sorry, as as a demeaning word, they changed the word to cowhands to cowboys. So that's how you get that how we get the word cowboys today. African Americans being called boys by the white counterparts as demeaning, regardless of their age, or because of their status or economic status. So that's where we get the word cowboys from. They was called cowhands. I thought that was an interesting tidbit. But if people went out west and they built cities and they built Black Wall Street out west, Oklahoma and Tulsa area. So a lot of different stuff going on there. We're gonna do a roundtable. I mean, I'm gonna start with you, Playmaker, with this question. We go to the time. Looking back, do you believe that the move out of the South gave Blacks more opportunity to build communities as well as have an impact on our country?
So my short answer is yes. I think that with the move, like we talked about earlier, there was more opportunities. They had uh, like the groups like the NAACP working on laws to try to make uh, uh, housing affordable, not affordable, but get into certain areas. Also, Urban League giving training and jobs. So I think as long as you have, when you start building up income in your own economy, it gives you a little bit of power to kind of start doing some of your own things. So I think it was definitely beneficial for us. I think, like we were talking about the conditions back in the South at that time, they still had a lot of lynching and things going on, people being killed. So I think it was a necessity for people to move.
Quinn, I'm asking you. I'm going with you with the same question. Do you think it was? Did like I said with Gary, we're gonna pick it back what he said, but I'm asking you the same question. Or do you think moving out of South gave Blacks a better opportunity to be successful?
Um, considering what they knew, which was everything in the South, I don't think so. They could have moved west and still been South, but moving north was what affected them as far as they're used to warmer weather in the South, and then moving north, realizing all that cold weather, kind of pushed them back a little bit, which is also, I think, why you see more Black people the further south you go, because Black people, they said, they try to go north as, oh, it is too cold up here, back down south.
Okay, okay, I can deal with that. With them at that, Toya, what's your thoughts?
I think yes. I think it. What we know is that the Great Migration began the era of increase in political activism because of the disenfranchisement in the South. So they found new places for themselves in the public life. And like I said, it brought about the Harlem Renaissance. It brought about art. It brought about uh, civil rights. It brought about, all types of things. And when Ron said that now we're having a great migration again from the north to the south. There's a lot of people from up north coming back to the south. There's a lot of people saying, okay, and it's not just retirees, it's younger people too, because it's more affordable and you can find more land. There's a lot of people. I think we're in that time now where people are really trying to get back to the land that we lost so long ago, which is a good thing. And there are being some good things done in the South, although they're trying to take our history away from us, with crazy laws and crazy people. But I do think it was a great impact for us.
Good stuff. Well, I'm going to a different question. I'm gonna get a little. Do you believe that? Because during this period, Blacks were just coming out of slavery, coming out of Reconstruction, was the Black community at its strongest at this time, or was it we were still having issues? What's your thoughts coming through this time period?
Segregation created for us a natural functional independence. And that independence bred businesses throughout our communities, and our businesses thrive. Um, it wasn't until we went through the whole process of integrating ourselves and the feeling that we needed to integrate with the more dominant culture that a lot of those businesses died as a result of that. Functionally, man, we had a thriving community, and just listening to the things that my grandfather used to talk to me about, like U Street now. U Street at one point in time, U Street, H Street, those areas were corridors where Black folks went to go and have a good time in the Washington, D.C. area. Now those areas that were places where they were havens for Black folks, Howard Theater, all those places right now are where Caucasians go to have fun. And Howard is right up the street from U Street. right, Ben's Chili Bowl is no more than maybe about a mile from Howard University, which is one of the more famous historically Black universities. And so when you really identify aspects of what has happened, we've lost the ability to have that level of independence and independence and interdependence on one another to support businesses and the community base. Man, people had rent parties. I hate to say it, this isn't. I'm not gonna say it's a bad thing. We had liquor houses or houses where we could go sit down
But it was a
and drink
business.
and have a good time, and it was safe. We didn't have to go and intermingle in certain places that we weren't necessarily welcome. And so that created opportunity. And then we had things like the Green Book. I think it was a Green Book, which
They have it again.
shows you spaces where you could go effectively and stay and feel comfortable and safe. So there was things, and that's where the word repast came from. You would eat before you left the funerals because we had a level of interdependence and a thought process that we had to stick together. And that sense of community is what really protected us and afford us to thrive here in America and become home owners and achieve the American dream and be on task. What effectively ended up happening to us is that, I hate to say it, we lost that sense of awareness that we are minorities in this space. We are strangers in a strange land, and we must understand that a lot of powers that be don't want us to succeed. I'm not saying all. I'm just saying some very powerful people do not want us to succeed. And in order
But
for
that's
this
the
economy to
design.
work, and I'm about to hit that. In order for this economy to work, you need a permanent underclass. And we were identified as the underclass.
What's your thoughts today, Playmaker?
From which aspect? Ron dropped a lot of jewels in that.
Well, wait, what's your thoughts on what he said? What you gather with what it? Because it was some Jews dropping. So whatever. With a few minutes, you got a minute or two. So what's your thoughts on was the Black community at its strongest coming out this period of time, or what's your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I think all the things that Ron said, I definitely believe. And I think we had this question a couple of months ago about different periods of time in which we felt that the Black community was at its strongest. And it's for me, it's kind of hard to point to one particular time frame because there's so many different examples in time in which we came together to overcome. And I think that that's just our history and that's just how we are. When we are faced with different obstacles, we band together and overcome and make the best of that situation that we can. So I think we just see that through all of our history and not just this one particular instance. So is it one of the many examples? Yes. If it's the biggest or the most, it's hard for me to answer that question just because of all the examples we have.
Good stuff. I think we're gonna leave it to hey guys. Hey, great topic, great topic. And again, guys, our goal is not only just to entertain, but to educate a little bit, especially during this time period where our history is being whitewashed and erased from history. I think that I hope, and our goal is to give you guys a platform, a starting point, so you can go and do your own homework and do your own pick up the history book and find out what's the truth about what we've been through as a community and where we're going. Because if we don't know what we've been through, you ain't gonna have no roadmap to where we're going. If not, because we're doing repeat the same stuff. So great show. I do appreciate it. We'll go around the room. Toya, what's your last thoughts?
I love these conversations because, of course, these are probably my favorite times of our history and being in this country. Of course, I like to talk about before we were slaves, but I think this is something that we have to keep up because it deals with our history is a cycle. It goes in a circle. So everything is coming back around. We're dealing with the same type of things that we were dealing with then. the voting laws, the lines being changed, our kids' education. So we need to keep having great conversations like this. I enjoy them. And just my last word too is just lead with love. Mind the business that pays you.
Good stuff. Q, your last word, sir.
I'm assuming you're not giving me a lot of time.
You got a minute. You got 2 minutes, sir. Just start speak. When I say time's up, we but you got a minute, sir. You got a couple of minutes.
Oh, give me a couple minutes. Okay. Anyone ever know DJ Academics?
Yes.
Who?
Yes.
Okay, DJ Academics. He's a radio. He talks not like this, but on a grander scale. He has a whole bunch of issues. He always seems to buck up when it comes to women.
He's a shock jock.
Gotcha.
He tries to be.
Go ahead.
When it comes to having beef with women, he gets all swole in the chest and everything.
Okay.
Now, does anyone know Saucy Santana?
No.
I just
look up Saucy Santana after the show.
Y'all seen where Queen Latifah injected herself into it. The beef.
Right.
So to speak. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, no. Saucy Santana, a gay man, said, okay, you talking about my friend now. I'm going to beat you up, and then I'm going to say he going to do some things I can't say on the radio. Now, to that point, DJ Academic got on the radio crying, saying, oh, I can't say what I want to say, or I'll get canceled. Now, two things. One, Saucy Santana, what you said, beat him up, cool. That second part, chill. DJ Academics, you can't be beefing with women, and then with a grown man who is gay with long nail, he is gay. When a grown man come at you, you start crying. Nah, that's still a grown man, and that grown man will beat you up. I can't say what I want to say. It's a radio station.
Okay.
You
done? We got some more. That's interesting, though.
Academics need to tap out.
Okay, last thing. You mentioned Cowboys 4. Cowboys suck. We beat them. While I'm on the subject, so do the Giants and so do the Commanders. Continue.
Playmaker, your last word, sir. Lying. I know. Playmaker, your last word, sir.
So my last thing is as we approach this election tomorrow and elections in the future, pay attention to what's going on. Do your research. Know who's running for these different positions. Know what you're voting on and voting for, and just don't go in there and do the Christmas tree.
So what is the Christmas tree, sir? What is the Christmas tree?
You've been in elementary and middle school and high school. You know, when you don't know the answer, you just kind of just start circling, and we can't afford just to be circling dots to be circling dots.
Got you.
You talking about Christmas? Thanksgiving ain't passed yet.
That's right.
We talking about voting quick.
I know, boy. We almost off the rails, buddy. Run, last word, sir.
Hey man, a coach and a teacher from our school passed away on yesterday. A great man by the name of Tim Breslin. My football coach my senior year in high school, and I was with him for 2 years. But I like to say a great rest in peace to him, and shout out to my high school family, the Carl family, for all that has taken place and all that I learned and gained from them. There are places where we can go and we can gather and we can be a family, the human family, black and white, and learn and grow from each other. And Carl was one of those places, and Tim Breslin was one of the men that I learned. So thank you, Coach. Rest in peace.
Good stuff. My equipment. Hey guys, learn. If you don't know your why, learn your why. If you don't have a why to learn, create your why. Have a reason to get up and move every day. Have a reason to get motivated. Don't just, I know times are hard and the roller coasters go up and down and we get caught up in our own drama, but have a reason to be great. Have a reason, guys, to get up and find your passion. And no matter what nobody say about you, say to you, poke at you, whatever they do, find your passion and get up and go get it. And I'm gonna give a shout out to my boy Maurice Daniels, who's my barber, who I've been knowing this young man for a while. He got a shirt line out, and his hashtag is Mash the Gas. And what he meant by this, whatever you doing in life, go for it full throttle, mash the gas, and go get it. Hey guys, what a great show! Thank you for your support. Thank you for your listeners. Thank you for the Astorias. Continue to support us over the top podcast, guys. It's more than just a podcast, it's becoming a movement. And like always, guys, may your next move be the game changer. Peace.